Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleashed!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots. With me, as always, Johnny C., creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death. What's up, pal?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. I just got to thank you for, putting that video together yesterday. For the We Suck at Comics anthology, we do a 5-question segment for people out there that didn't know. Thanks for doing that, man. Now you kind of know like how much of a pain it is to edit those kind of videos, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have the patience for editing typically, but I can do it, right?
Yeah.
But it was really important for me to get that up there for those guys because we're in the final hours of that campaign, and I've got a short story in it, and I love those guys in Wayward Raven, so I want to see that campaign be successful for them, and ultimately for myself and my collaborator Kara, we have a short in there. So
yeah, no, and I went and backed it yesterday because I did the digital version because I just wanted to support the cause. I like all you guys, so I just wanted to throw my shekels into the
I appreciate that, man.
But I wanted to thank you for doing that because I felt bad. So what happened was I do all the editing and I put most of the videos together and the thumbnails and everything on the weekend. And they had sent me, I hadn't gotten their videos, so I was like, oh, well, I'll just do it next week. And I had no idea that the campaign was ending this week, Yeah. And they got me the footage, I think, Sunday afternoon. Both of them got it to me maybe Sunday late afternoon, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I already had uploaded the other 5-question segment with DP Brown for the Sunday night. And then I had already put an ICR bits together for Friday, and set up all the stuff for our broadcast tonight. And I'm I was like, oh man, I want to do this, but I don't have time because, last night I was on Nerds of the Round. And
nice.
Yeah, so it was finally cool to be on that show. And then Monday I had we had an art auction on Sunday night on Alterna's channel. So Monday night I had to go home and then pack everything up. That took 2 hours, and because it's artwork, so you have to really flatten it, everything. So I was and then tonight we have our show. I was like, there's no way I can do this video.
I would have done it sooner, but I was at Saratoga over the weekend.
Yeah. How was that, by the way?
It was a good show. It was fun. So like I said, I kind of heard mixed reviews from people, but the people who did well are the people who go back consistently. So that's the type of show where you want to build
an audience there.
Yeah. And there's, I've seen people do it. Chelsea Brickham, she's just a cosplayer, but she's got a really strong audience. I don't know if she's going to mind me saying this, but she told me she made more in those 2 days than the 3 days of Rhode Island. So go figure. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've told you this too. It's if I could get a free table, I think that show would be worth it for me.
Yeah.
And if I just had to pay for a hotel or something, but without it, it's
It's
the
tough.
2 days. Yeah, it's really tough to make money and make it worth the trip. Like
So,
if it was right around the corner. What's up?
I said sometimes it all comes down to crunching numbers. Like SPX, I if you review the video that we did before, though, but the way that show broke down for me, that is, if I didn't get the full table, if I got the half table, like most other creators did, I would have profited.
Yeah.
But I actually got the full table, and I actually didn't profit. So it comes down to like really fine tuning and looking at what's possible there. You know what I mean?
Cutting savings here and there, and sometimes when you do a trip like that, you kind of go into it knowing, hey, I'm not going to make money, but I'm going to be in a new area, and let me check it out. Let me try to network here and make my presence known in this area. Like when I went and do San Diego Special Edition last year, it was the same thing. It was like, I know,
that you're going to lose money, loss, but you're also exposed to a new audience.
Exactly. So
totally.
So whereas Saratoga for me is like I've done the show like 4 or 5 times now, and it's more like a money making thing for me. And if it was in Leominster, if that show was around here,
if it was in your backyard,
sure. Exactly. But the 4-hour ride,
like so. The people traveling to it aren't too far from it either. So
that makes
the other
sense.
thing too. It's like you got to weigh your options. I think that one thing I do want to say about that show is that this year, more than previous years, it seemed like we had more indie comic creators there.
Oh, that's good.
Lusso, a new label called Blue Shack Comics.
Oh, cool.
There, Russell, Brett Holtz from Sidekicks. He was there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so there seemed to be Jay Moore's. So there's like a really stronger independent comic scene than prior years. And what I'd like to see happen to that show is get a more refined artist alley. That's a lot like other major shows.
That would be cool. Because it feels like that show is all over the place vendor wise. Like, it's like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I think they would benefit from that. So I don't know, be a buzz in Sam's ear. Maybe you can get it done.
Oh, I'm trying. Believe me, I'm trying. But feedback from the audience is the best. So like, if you've been to the show before, or if you're a vendor and you're like, hey, like, he listens to that more than he listens to me. I'm his friend. Sure. So he it's in one ear out the other. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. So before we get to tonight's guest, just gotta take a look. Share this out again as always. Mighty Mascots 7, 8, and 9, where we picked up a few backers since last time. This is the one thing I like about the in demand feature. Like I'm making money here that I normally wouldn't have made because the campaign would have been closed, so that's one thing I love about this. I'm hoping
always
if I get
to keep that open.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm hoping if I get the toys before the issues are done, I could throw those up here and kind of make a little bit of more money on those and sell them direct,
I saw the photos, man. They look real cool. I can't wait for those.
Thanks, man. Yeah, they're in production, so I'm hoping I'll have them in a couple months. We'll see what happens with those, but I'm really looking forward to getting this out. Like we're almost done issue 8. Like Ian's almost done the artwork for 8, and then we're gonna launch right into 9. So I'm hoping
that's awesome.
Maybe by January, February, I'll be done and ready to get these to the printer. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Keeping that momentum's key, though. You know what I mean? Like I had a long conversation with my cousin Roger on the way home from Saratoga. And it's like that's one of the things I think I need to like focus on is just that consistent momentum. A lot of the thing though is like you're waiting on artists, you're waiting on other creators. Sometimes that can be a little tough.
Yeah, when your situation, you probably would what I would do is like while you're waiting for other stuff, you could probably be writing your next story,
Right, which I kind of do a little bit.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Yeah, but I also don't want to get ahead of myself either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to be having 4 projects going and having to pay for all 4. So
that's the other thing. Finance is kind of
finance is a little tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have them ready to go, that's even better. Have them, anthology stories or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So yeah, let's say hi to the audience before we. I'm really eager to talk to this group tonight.
We have a crew tonight, which is awesome.
Yeah, which is great. You know, it's not just one or two creators. But I sent you the link, and I really like the idea of this group. So like, I definitely want to talk.
Looking
to them.
forward to hearing more about what they're doing, and
definitely
with this new endeavor.
Yeah, definitely. Ara's with us tonight. What's up, buddy? Good to see you as always. Ben Soto, I was on his show a couple months ago. Hey, Ben, how's it going, man?
Ben.
Good to see you. Let me see. I won some of Keith Gleason stuff on the alternate auction. That's right. You won something cool, Ara. Where do you see that when you get it? I packed it. I would have shown you, Johnny. So my brother, what Ara won, my brother made... it's kind of like a shadow box, but he took the cover of Mighty Mascots #1, and he's like a cool. He does lots of good carpentry. He makes like flags, things like that. He layered like the cover, so it's like a 3D. So it's like one of those 3D shadow boxes. So like the characters in the foreground, the middle, and the back, it all feels like they're popping up. And,
that's neat.
Yeah, it's really cool looking, and Ara won it. And so he's going to be getting that in a few days. And my brother's going to make me another one. And we may be auctioning more down the road. But
I was going to say, instead of auctioning, save that for like a top tier prize on.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I might have my brother see if he'll make like a bunch of them and then throw them up there. Why not? You know. Yeah, so that's cool. So thanks, Ara. Thank you again for buying that. That's great. Harry's with us, and is this the episode dedicated to Kevin Conroy?
I know.
Let's have a lot of Batman puns throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was sad to hear about Conroy. I'm sure you were, Johnny. Did you ever meet him? I know you did a lot of cons in our area.
Only in passing. I never really got a chance to actually meet him. Like, I was like, oh, there's Kevin Conroy, but not really got a chance to.
Same. I'd see him at Terrificon from a distance, but I never went over and talked to him. But
he always had a long line.
He did.
He always had a long line.
I mean, legit, he was like a generation's Batman. I mean,
he was my generation's Batman per se. Definitively, when I think of Batman and hear his voice, I think of Kevin Conroy. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And it helps that...
think of Cathal J. Dodd. A lot of people think of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. It's Cathal Dodd who voiced the character on the 90s X-Men series. That's my Wolverine. When I read the comics, I hear Cathal Dodd's voice.
That's great. Well, and like Batman animated series was, I think, still to this day, the best version of Batman. Better than the comics, better than the movies. Solid. Like you'd be hard pressed to find any bad episodes in that whole run, you know.
Yep.
So
I agree with you there.
So I could see why Kevin Conroy, everyone was kind of broken up about it, you know.
Totally.
What did you say, Ara here? Ara said, Indie Comics, any show Johnny C and Indie Comics Relay are part of is an awesome show. Thank you, buddy. Man.
Ara, you're the best. God love you.
And then look who's here. Roger Morocco is present. Awesome. Good to see you. How was it hanging with Roger over the weekend? What's that?
He heard me speak of him and he materialized. Roger's great. He's such a great travel partner and I'm so appreciative to have him. And he imparts a lot of wisdom too. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to comic history. Yeah. So it's I'm really lucky to have him in my life, so I agree.
That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. All right, so we said hello to everybody. So let's I'll set up the group here. So
no further ado.
Drew Lenhart's been on our show before.
I recall,
and he has a book called Caspian Porter, which I've spoken really highly of. I've reviewed the book when I was doing reviews, and I really like it. It's very Buck Rogers, like Adam Strange kind of vibe to it. But he contacted me a couple months ago and told me he had started a group of publishers had come together to form this, like, I guess imprint, I would guess you would call it, like, called Savage Sandbox. and I was intrigued by the idea. I was like, that's great. And he was like,
Pretty cool.
yeah, I could probably bring a few of the guys on. I was like, yeah, that sounds like it'd be a great episode. So here we are. We finally got to the date. And so let me start with let me bring in Drew first here. Hey, Drew, good to see you, buddy.
Hey guys, how's it
Did you hear
going?
us,
Hey,
that
Drew,
awesome
how's it
talk
going?
up? While you were back.
Yeah.
Good to see you again, man.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on. And then we got Jason Farrow. What's up,
Hey,
Jason? Thanks for
what's
joining
up?
us.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Awesome. And we got Jerry Cooley. Hey, Jerry. Thanks for joining us.
What's
Hello.
up, Keith? Glad to be
How's it
here,
go-
bro.
Yeah, good to have you here. And then this was it Chris? It was Chris, right?
Yeah.
Chris, thanks for joining us. How's it going, Chris?
Not bad, not bad. Yeah, I go by Crit. Just call me Crit.
Crit? Call you Crit? Okay,
Crit.
cool. Yeah,
Right
I got a friend named Gary that he just wants to be called Gaz. So I just, so I get it, So
I
how's it
forget
going,
that
gentlemen?
is on there. Let me change that.
It's great to have all four of you here. Yeah, Drew had reached out to me, and I was intrigued by this idea of, essentially indie creators coming together. Like, you guys are, I imagine, like, each your own publisher, right? Before this happened, and now you guys came together to form, like, would you call Savage Sandbox a imprint?
Who goes? Me or Jason?
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Everybody, free for all.
So
Go ahead.
Working towards the imprint status right now, we're a retail distribution team that
Okay.
supports each other in our own individual endeavors. The purpose of the group was to grow the retail channel, because it's hard for independent publishers to gain traction retail wise, because retailers only want they want more titles, they want more shelf space, they want more consistency, and you can't get that from one guy in his art room, drawing one book, because you get a couple copies a year if you're lucky. So originally the group started it just as a group chat on Instagram.
Oh,
And,
really? Okay.
Everyone started doing their own projects and growing as a group, and so then we introduced our golden distribution channel. So some of the books are moved onto that, and then we also have Maverick distribution, and we have a couple other like small distributors that we work with as a group. And Drew and I are actually in the process of growing that distribution channel right now, so hopefully we'll have some things to discuss in the future.
Oh, that's great. And so did you guys all know each other prior? Have you guys known each other for a long time, or did you guys just meet through comics?
I only met one of the guys on here. I guess.
Oh, really? Is this the first time all four of you guys have been kind of on a show or
physically?
something?
No. Physically,
Oh,
I've only met
physically.
one.
Okay.
The rest of the
Okay.
guys, I just know them from the chest up if I'm lucky. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we all
making
kinda-
jokes.
Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, we all kind of met on Instagram. So
Really? Okay.
Yep.
So and then and you guys all had your own separate. Wow. So how did you guys start talking about coming together as like a single unit?
Well, I get a lot of credit for that from Chris. He claims that I'm the one that brought the SSB together. I don't know if that's entirely
You're like
true
the
or not, but-
heart of the team, Jason.
Yeah, I don't know. I you know what it is? Like, I was friends with all these guys, via Instagram and and stuff like that separately. And I mean, we all kind of followed each other, but we weren't really like as close as we are now. So
Okay.
we kind of just, I don't know, like started talking, like cross the, we brought Chris in too, because originally the chat was one thing and it kind of organically grew, and we brought Chris in, and Chris, became when we really did decide to make the Savage Sandbox more than what it was to the goals that we were trying to achieve now. Like Chris came in, became he was a founding member, and so we grew organically from there. So we pulled in guys that we had good rapport with, that had solid products, and that were, for the lack of a better, just weren't really interested in, I guess, for just stirring the pot. You know what I mean? They're not out there. They're not believing their own hype. They're not out there patting themselves in the back. They're just moving. They're just trying to get their books out like the rest of us. And so we kind of gravitated all to have similar goals, and we gravitated towards each other, and kind of grew from there.
No, it's great. And so what you're talking about is you were looking for creators like with no ego, basically, right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
I was just thinking that.
They're out there. We all know they're out there.
Oh yeah, of course. You can't.
I'm sure we all have a list. I know I do. And I was friends with Chris. Chris and I talked separately, and then he came in, and then Drew. I've always been I was a huge supporter of anything Drew was doing, and so when we had to talk about membership and talk about opening up, we had this pool of individuals that we really were interested in. And so we reach out and say, hey, you interested? You're not interested? And then it just kind of grew from there, and it's pretty awesome because we have we have a little chat, and like you said, a little Instagram chat and stuff. So there's a lot of ball busting and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we actually have a really good camaraderie, and it's pretty awesome, I must admit. So
something really special happens when you can get a group of talented creators together, but checking the egos at the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have other groups that, one I can point to is the individuals involved in the We Suck at Comics anthology we were talking about at the top of the show. It's like those guys in Wayward Raven, Sebastian from Nerds of the Round, like when you get all this together, we're not trying to one up each other. We're more trying to just collaborate and work together and
support.
Support. It's a good support system. And that's real great that you guys are able to find each other and kind of come together and push out all the other riffraff and nonsense.
We collaborate the shit out of each other. I'll tell you that. Right now. So, I mean, we are always in each other's. We help each other out. Chris literally letters just about all of our books. So if somebody needs a poster done, they'll ask one of us guys would jump in. We do
That's
like cross
awesome.
promotions, and it's really, it's definitely growing into something that we can rely on each other, and that's pretty big to say in the community. So
yeah.
I agree, and to backtrack for a second, when you talked about like your chat and you guys do a lot of ball busting, like that to me is like a good sign. It's actually a good way to weed out ego. Actually, if you think about it, because most people with a big ego can't handle criticism or being butthurt. I don't know. That's great.
Chris will tell you that. Yeah, he'll tell you. I know secretly he hates me, but if we were talking about ball busting, but yeah, he's. I really play him through the ringer. So.
You know what? Get it out on the air here. Let's clear the air.
Hey, he's dead.
Yeah.
That's how much I hate him. I did say secretly. I said secretly.
We have to put you guys at each corner of the sandbox.
Hold on. I'll tell you what the deal is. So really, the only reason we're friends is because when our kids met, they became friends, and I'm a good dad, so I maintain the friendship for her.
That's what it is. See, again, we put our personal egos aside for the sake of children.
Now, are you guys all in separate states?
Oh yeah, we're all over the place.
Nice. So you guys met through online, basically, definitely. And then awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great idea what you guys are doing here, because I don't see a lot of. So like you were saying, like a lot of indie creators they're almost like an island, right? They feel like they're the only, their only voice. To get a group like this together, I think is huge. Like you said, like you can support each other in different ways. I don't know, I think it's awesome. How did you come up with the name of Savage Sandbox? Where did that come from?
Is that you, Jason?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's all, Jason.
Yeah. Again, I originally had this chat, and it was me and another friend of mine originally started this as one thing. And it organically became what we were always calling it the SSB, because it used to stand for something else. And then we figured if we were going to do something real with this, it kind of needed a better name than than the name we
What was the
stole amongst
original?
ourselves.
What did it originally stand for?
The B stood for bullshit, so I'll just leave it at that. So what we did was we went forward and we were tossing names around, and we definitely gravitated towards the word savage because just the way we treated each other, I think, is kind of where that came from. And Sandbox was, it's just what it says. It's a place where you bring your toys, you know what I mean, and then your friends bring their toys, and you play in a mutual sandbox. You know what I mean. But at the end of the day, you can take your toys and leave, and still do your own thing. That sandbox allows us to, if we ever wanted to do crossovers or just mutual appearances and stuff like that, it's kind of left in the virtual sandbox, if you will. It's not impactful for the most part to each other's brand or their own individual canon or anything like that. And so that's kind of where it grew from there. And then we kind of went with the we kind of went with the NWO colors from WCW. So we kind of, black and white. We like that. Then, and because we were giving each other names, like apparently I was Hulk Hogan because I'm old. And but then the people like Chris, what do we call you, Chris? X-Pac, you're X-Pac. We were doing this stuff. We were coming in. So then we went with the black and white color scheme, and then then the Wolfpack thing kind of got in there. So it's a hodgepodge of just really great ideas, and it just one day, it seems like one day, and boom, here we are. It's a Savage Sandbox with a wolf logo, and we call ourselves the SSB, and everything's black and white. That's it.
I love it.
Right on.
Yeah.
So has there been a crossover yet between characters?
It's coming. It's coming. So
is it going to be a huge sandbox? Everybody.
Chris, go ahead. You can talk about we have a Christmas special we're going to do. It's some Christmas, not this Christmas. We've been talking about that for a couple of years now. But go ahead, Chris.
It's not this Christmas. In fact, we really
definitely not Christmas. This. Not this Christmas.
It's Merry Christmas.
Sorry,
no. So I forget if this was a dream that I had last year or what it was. You want me to go into that whole crazy detail?
No, but we have a bunch of B-list heroes and C-list heroes amongst our universes, and we thought that we would do kind of like what you guys already heard that.
It involved murdering Santa Claus because he was a demon.
Yeah, there was Santa Claus. And then,
my wife.
So we decided that we were going to take our C-list or B-list villains, I think, right? Villains? And they were or heroes or anti-heroes.
So
anti-heroes. And they were going to save Christmas.
We've gone through multiple reiterations of this. Originally, it was like our B-level heroes versus like our B-level villain. The B-level villains had teamed up and like kidnapped Santa and created there was a demon that took over the place of Santa, and all the elves were little demons, and we had to kill all the demons. This
was all coming from a chat. So
this was
okay.
This was about 2 hours. In fact, my wife who was just on here, she was sitting here watching me going nuts and what are you doing? And I'm like, we're talking about a Christmas special that involves Santa becoming a demon and all of our B-list characters having to murder him. And I think it ended with Caliber and Convictor are a couple of our violent characters, actually having to murder this demonic Santa, and two of our non-very violent characters showing up last minute, getting covered in goop from the demon Santa, and then vomiting everywhere. And then the end of it was Caliber telling this story to a group of children at school, and they're all horrified.
It's like a Christmas tradition or something. Yeah.
So that's great. So you can that's a glimpse into our chat. So they have that.
I like it.
But outside of there are some other little inner workings between a lot of our I think, Drew, unofficially there was something where you and Dennis were talking about, right? Because you guys both have characters that are sci-fi outer space based.
Yep.
So I know there's if you have characters that are similar, it's kind of natural to want to do some type of small crossover. And right, there's Dennis right there. And Chris mentioned Caliber, one of his characters from his C.R.I.T. series. And I have my character, the Convictor. and they're very similar characters in the sense of very 90s gun-toting pouches, in your
Punisher
face kind
esque.
of. Yeah, without a doubt.
Rob
And
Liefeld, 90s
yeah,
style.
so we draw our feet, and so Chris and I are kind of working on something. So if you have similar characters, kind of gravitate towards that. Just small things, nothing like other than what we just talked about. Nothing grandiose.
So with the crossover aspect, how do you guys work? Do you guys work? Do you guys like need contracts? Like, are you guys that like critical about doing business together? Like,
I don't think so. I think it's more trust based, right, Chris?
more trust based.
Well,
Yeah.
Up until you get into the distribution channel, then I do
Yeah,
have a
right,
contract
right.
for distribution because we have to
Right.
legally have.
I mean,
that.
like,
and
you guys seem like all good friends, like, but you never. It's that thing, like when money comes into it, it,
Right.
it
Yeah,
can
who's
kind
gonna
of
be the
change
first to
things.
turn on all y'all?
I mean, I've
Who's
already
gonna get Savage in the
Well,
Yeah,
sandbox?
who's gonna be the savage
Well,
turn on y'all?
I think it's gonna be
Leo.
Jason personally. Jason's like got that mad look in his eye.
So, only four of us have really experienced the retail side of things, and to be frank, the two checks I had to cut for Jason and Jerry, they wound up just giving back to me because I was lettering their books at the time, so they were just like put it towards the lettering on the books.
Gotcha.
So really,
Is it something that you guys would like right now? It's not a concern because you're still, like there's not a lot of money coming in. That's usually with every indie creator. But like, once you guys get start going with this distribution and eventually get to a point where there's some money coming in, would that be like when you guys would maybe think about doing something like that, or
so? As far as like editor and like things like that, that has been discussed.
Okay.
For retail books, we kind of want to keep I want to keep two different channels of the SSB. One is our camaraderie because if you just turn everything into business, you lose that
right,
the uniqueness that we have, which is a bunch of friends that help each other grow. If you sign on to any one of our individual Instagrams, you're going to see us sharing each other's stuff consistently, commenting. We try to grow each other's awareness around whatever project we're working on. So it's important to keep that piece, the camaraderie and the friendship. But also when we do have, we're actually having to grow our distribution channel because our current distributor, it's going to be tough to add so many books financially for them and for us, and for even the retail clients that we have, which is what Drew and I are working on. So yeah, Drew and I and Jason have spoken about this at length, and I do believe we'll need some form of editor in chief just to make sure what we're putting in there it best represents the group. So, if some edits need to be made or like some relettering or something to that effect, we're never gonna question what you put on Kickstarter. That's your product.
Yeah.
But the SSB books on our current distribution channel all have SSB logos on them. That's where that ego gets put aside for a moment. It's great that I have Homebrewed Heroes as my publishing company, and I want to get that out there. But that's going to go on the inside cover, and we're going to represent SSB because that's what matters to retail. That's what matters to comic book shops is a brand presence. And if we have 7 different titles with 7 different logos on the front,
makes no sense.
Right. I go back to when I was a kid getting into music for the first time, and I got into Roadrunner Records. I bought every band on Roadrunner Records because I liked one band. So, that's kind of where we're going with this as well on the retail shelves, is because they know the SSB shelf will have a book on it every month, or 2 books, or whatever our release schedule is. So it is a different beast. And yes, when those discussions come, hey, I want to put my book in stores. Okay, great. This is, what we're going to need to change. We've had to change some things with a couple of our different books that have gone on there. I had to reletter an entire book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I did that with issue 1 because it was lettered a little bit smaller than it should have been, and I wanted consistency. And that's actually one big thing is consistency. If we're putting titles and we have a distributor and retailers and all these other people involved, it's important to have consistency. But again, your individual stuff on Kickstarter, you can have whatever you want. You want to have, you know, your weird covers or whatever you want to do, your blank covers, you know, those things. If you want to have a book with no logos on it, if you want to have a book with, you know, giant anime bubbles down to little tiny bubbles.
Yeah, like the home brewed, like, you know, version, like the, you know, like the variant, you know.
Yeah, whatever you want to do on Kickstarter is your baby. But if we have to get other people involved, you know, on that distribution channel, then there will be some finalized eyes going on it. And it's nothing against any of the individual creators. I mean, they could tell me my book sucks and I have to redo it. I'd be like, okay, cool. You know, there's no ego in the game when it comes to this piece. So,
well, I think that's why you guys will, even when it comes to that time to talk about all that stuff, you know, you've already taken ego out of the equation, so it should run smoothly, you know, like because you know, I've been involved with a few groups and ego was always ruined everything, you know. But if you can find those people that are on the same wavelength as you, I think that will make it so you succeed. So when you talk about distribution, like, are you guys going through, like, are you guys get a Diamond account, or are you kind of doing, because I know there's some indie distributors too, right? Besides Diamond. Diamond's Lunar, the biggest, but
we've looked at Lunar. I think Drew and I actually have a call on Sunday to look at, like, there's 4 that we want to look at now. You know, Diamond's nice, but they take like 6 months to even respond to an email. So
yeah, they're hurting big time. So I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. Plus, you know, after talking to Drew earlier today, it's also on the retail side. Like, we were at Comic-Con in Baltimore, and there were quite a few guys that were just hating all over Diamond. And I actually work in distribution, but in a different, you know, I work in board games and war games and things.
Okay.
And I talked to a lot of comic book shops, and quite a few of them really want to get away from Diamond. So if there's some, you know, other distributors out there that are already catering to the audience, then we, you know, I want to go where we're going to be most seen. And if that's going to be, you know, a different distributor, it's great to have that, you know, your book on the Diamond previews. That's cool. But I see a lot of guys with books in Diamond previews, and I have their book on the comic book shelves in my comic book store. So just because you're in previews doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I'd rather go to a distributor that has maybe 5,000 clients instead of 500,000 clients, and have 1,000 people buy the book instead of 100.
Yeah, and the smaller distributor knows what stores will take a chance on indie books too, so that always helps. Whereas Diamond, you're kind of like, I've had my book in Diamond, and it, like you said, there's, you know, like probably 5% of the stores bought my book. You know what I mean? And it was just because, like, you know, they put like a little spotlight thing on it, and
it's easier to get lost in Diamond.
Big time. That book is so thick, and like, it's so archaic too. Like, a normal customer doesn't even. What person wants to go through
it's
like the Bible? Like, it's catalog, it's like a phone book. Like, you know, what customer wants to do that? You know,
as a kid, I love those freaking things at Christmas. What's that?
Yeah, no,
Sears catalog.
Oh,
that was the 80s, though, right?
Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just gonna say, you know, I really like that you guys are like, you're all independent. You all have your independent stuff, but you also kind of come together like fucking Avengers, and you kind of boost each other. One thing I was thinking here is, and I don't know if maybe we can hear from each of you, one instance where you saw yourselves all come together and like do something, like, you know, either whether it was a promotion or something. Like, can you guys just chime in on one time where you guys just came together as a well-oiled machine and worked as a team?
Yeah, I can hit
I'll
that
let
one.
Jason-
Yeah.
let Jason start.
Every Kickstarter we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's go one at a
Yeah.
time. I guess Drew, if you
Yeah,
want to
pretty-
share.
yeah. Let Drew go.
Yeah, sure. Jerry hit it right on the nose there. It's the Kickstarter, the support. You know, like with this group, I see a lot of extra backers out of my campaigns that go on, and it's a huge improvement from when before I was doing campaigns by myself. So that's just been one of the biggest benefits of this group. So it's been awesome.
So like just to like collaborate on that a little more. So you'll put a Kickstarter up for like one of your books, but all three of these guys will kick in and share it out to their audience. And
Yep.
yeah, that's great.
Do you
That's
guys do
awesome.
like times
Exactly.
like, hey, 3:00 we're gonna blast Twitter or something? Or
No, we all work different schedules, and some of us are in different time zones. So we don't really do that. It's more of an unsaid expectation of the group. Just when you see it, share it. You don't have to share every single thing. When the Kickstarter, so one thing that we have been doing in the past year is live Kickstarter launches, and who's ever available, we'll plan this like, hey, I'm going live this time. Can anybody jump in? And some people jump in for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and them jumping in, what that does for you is it pulls their audience. So when they're live on your launch, you have like, Drew and I don't necessarily have the same audience. So if I jump on with Drew or Drew jumps on with me, it's going to notify his followers on Instagram and then pull them in.
Gotcha.
And so when we do those live launches, it really helps. Most of us have funded. Actually, I think everyone that's done a live launch has funded on a live launch.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's great.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm
Impressive.
pretty sure we've funded very well. If not that night, usually the next day it'll get funded.
Fantastic.
We just did a dual launch with C.R.I.T and another, not somebody even on SSB. We just did a dual launch, and they funded at the same time. So that camaraderie is there for that. But I'll let Drew go back to his thing about the Kickstarters. But yeah, we don't have rules and like guidelines and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was all I was going to say. It's really kind of a free for all when we have time. But yeah.
No, I like that. I wish like I had a group that would do the same. Like when I launch something, or when Johnny launches. It's kind of cool to have like that support. From other guys that are helping you succeed because they want to succeed too. With the same imprint. And Chris, would yours be the same? The Kickstarter?
Well, I think when we get together to help someone, it's generally around a Kickstarter because that's the most stressing thing.
Yeah.
I'll give a Kickstarter story, and then I'll give one that's not a Kickstarter story. But
sure.
One of the best Kickstarter stories I have actually predates both Jerry and Drew. One of our guys had a rather large backer back out of his book, and he had a high funding goal of $6,000.
Okay.
And we got the message in our group chat, man, this sucks. Somebody just dropped this. And collectively, we all went in and we were like, well, I kind of want this tier instead. And we were sharing it, and he made up that large backer within an hour. He had gotten that back either from us, choosing different tiers. One thing I like to say is we don't leave any Savage books will get funded. We'll make sure of that.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
We won't.
It'll never not fund.
Yeah, it's like a rule, never not fund.
That's if we had one, that's the rule. If we had one.
Very cool. I like that.
No SSB.
No one left behind, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
We will literally, just like Chris said, that'll never happen.
Jason will message me and be like, "Hey, this campaign's been a little slow. What can we do? Do we need to talk?" Sometimes it's a creator thing. Run the Kickstarter stressful. Do we need to help? Do we, is there something we can do? I've been listed as a co-creator on a lot of these things, so I can go in and make updates and things like that. That's the Kickstarter one. We have a rule: no Kickstarter left behind. We're gonna help you.
That's
I like it.
And I will say that we haven't. It's a $25. We have, yeah. I'm gonna leave it there. Jason knows what I'm talking about. We haven't had any miss it by $25, so that's a rule. But a non-Kickstarter. We'll leave the salt off here, but but a non-Kickstarter, we've had any creator in our group that needs help with something. I've tossed in artwork and gotten feedback. Jason tosses in artwork and gets feedback. But actually, Mo in the comment section, he does a lot of cover work for us. And he messaged me and said, so he's not necessarily, an SSB member, but he's involved in a lot of our books as far as cover work. I will drop that he's working on his own book finally, thanks to me and Dennis continually kicking him to do it. But Mo's scanner, he's a traditional artist. His scanner had died. I jumped into our group chat and said, hey, can anybody help chip in for a scanner for Mo? And we all came together and got him money that day to help him get a scanner.
Oh, wow. So,
cool.
That's a non-Kickstarter related, like, hey, I know financially he's not in the best spot to have to go represent a piece of equipment that does benefit the rest of the group anyway.
Yeah.
Can we each chip in a little bit to help him out? I thought that was really cool to see us all kind of like, oh yeah, no question. How much do you need? Boom, done.
That's
so,
great.
It's really our care goes outside of even our core members. If you're involved in our group and you need our help, we're going to be right there to help you.
Awesome.
Yep.
Guys like the freaking A-team. If you're in trouble and you need help, you know who to call.
How about you, Jerry?
Hell, if we're that, I'm howling at Murdoch. I'll put it that way. But yeah, these guys, man, they're like in the street. When I was growing up, I felt literally grew up with these guys. The latest members to the group, but I mean, they welcomed me with open arms. I'd known a lot of this for a while on Instagram, and we several times, and it just kind of happened, and we got together, and like they said, the Kickstarters, I mean, we constantly help each other with that, and we come to the phalanx and promote one another. I mean, it's solid. And not only with that, but with art also, we're constantly, we'll throw a picture up on the chat, or, we're just constantly chatting. We're like a big dysfunctional family, like a bunch of brothers.
Dysfunctional.
We were breaking up, but we got the majority of that.
Yeah. We were dysfunctional.
Yeah,
But
it was dysfunctional. I knew what you meant.
We're as dysfunctional as your internet connection.
Yeah. That's great. How about you, Jason? Any other stories that you could think of?
Yeah, like I said, I just want to reiterate again, the Kickstarter thing is huge for us. That's just, it's unwritten for sure. But if, one of our members is running a Kickstarter and are having a slow time, just, not funding, but, just moving the Kickstarter.
Yeah, try to get the word out.
Somebody will pop in the group and say, hey, can we get some shares and get some, just if it's just slow, just to try to get it knocked, because we've all been in the crowdfunding where you've had that second week slump, right? We've all been there. And that's a real shit show anyway. So somebody will jump in and like, hey, we'll have a game plan, or hey, can we just get some likes and hits on this? Can we get some sharing? And there's always one of us is always going to come in there and do that. And definitely the Kickstarter thing. Another instance, like what Chris had said about helping somebody out that that is somebody that works on the fringes of the SSB, and that's just and that's just Jack. Jack is one of Jack Sloan is Slate Comics. He's one of our Australian members.
Oh, great! That's awesome.
We're that's right.
So, are you guys the 4 main guys, or is there more people?
No, there's
more
of us. We I think there's 8 of us, right?
8 of you guys all together.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is only half.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Between
a couple of our members are working, so they couldn't.
That's awesome. So between the 8 of you guys, how many titles or how many books is that altogether? Is that like how many do you have right now? Like
Drew's got about 800. So
I knew that was
about Drew's got so many. He's got gold tiles on his ceiling. So Drew has more books than literally every single person in the SSB right now. But Chris is damn close.
Yeah, Chris is cranking them out here. Almost as fast as I
he's
am.
literally cracking them out. Yeah.
Creators Outlet says 8 is enough.
That's it.
Another TV
great TV show. Listen, I was born in the 70s.
Yeah, right.
It's all right. So, I think I think I have 2 out currently under one of my characters. I think Jerry has a few. I think he's working on. Correct me wrong, Jerry. You work on your 4th, chapter 4. Chris has 7 books currently, and Drew has, like I said, about 600 or 700. So
that's great. Yeah, I wanted to show the website here too that that you guys sent me here. Let me see. This is the Savage Sandbox website per se, right?
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, I wanted to take a look at. So do you guys release the same? Do you come out with like a couple titles every month? Is that how you guys do it, or?
Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, we don't have really a release schedule.
Gotcha. You're working towards that.
Yeah. I mean, one day, maybe. Right now, we can't really make people, do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like when once you get enough books, you could probably do, a little bit, like maybe, I don't know, like maybe bi-monthly, seasonal, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now it's more just, when, who, what, where, when. We kind of communicate when we're going to be launching, so we know. That way, actually, it was last year. Jason was launching, and I was trying to launch at the same time. And I actually wound up moving mine because I was like, you know what? I really don't want to launch right then. Now that's a lot, like between both of us, because I also lettered Jason's book, so it was like I was like, I'm just gonna move, and I moved mine to March. And
so you're not competing with each other either.
And it's not a bad thing to necessarily compete because some of us do have books that go at the same time. Yeah. But it's more, how do I put it? Fourth quarter is tough. So
boy.
I was like,
that's for sure.
It's beneficial if you're not stealing the same audience, to like, so right. I think that probably would benefit you guys. These books, all these books look great though. So if people want to get this from you guys, do they go through the website? Is that how you guys are doing it right now?
I'm still built. I actually have to finish a couple things on the website. I want to add our individual, because direct to customer is in our individual stores. So I need to add those under the publisher page. What I'll probably do is just add a link directly to each one of our, buy this book here, and then it'll link to that person's store. The website's kind of in progress because we're unified individuals, So eventually what will be there is more of our retail stuff. Buy this book and it'll go to either a list of retailers or become a retailer and go to the distributor. Right now, like I said, we're trying to grow that distribution channel to be able to handle that kind of traffic.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Like, I think, and also, once you unify and then you have one place where people can go to just buy the books rather than go to like each individual shop, I think that might be better for the customer, in a way,
You have them on, Drew. You've been handling a lot of that as far as the third party sites.
Oh, the digital aspect of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've got, as a group, all of our books digitally on Drive-Through Comics and Global Comics.
Yeah, perfect.
Have you guys plotted any dates for exhibiting all together yet at conventions?
Yeah, that's a
we
good
just
question.
came from one. Yeah.
Oh, you guys all did a show together.
Yeah, with those of us that, I mean, it's hard because you have guys, obviously, we have some fellows in Australia. Jerry here is in Mississippi. Another friend of ours, I'm from Jersey. Another friend of ours is from New York. Drew's from Indiana. Chris is from North Carolina. Another member from South Carolina. So logistics be damned. 4 of us were able to make shit happen. So nice. we were at Baltimore Comic-Con just a few weeks ago.
Oh, awesome! Great show to be at.
How is that show? Like, I've heard it's great for comics. Is that true? Is that a true statement?
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, coming together as there was 4 of us. It was Chris and Jerry Chatwin from E4 Comics and Dennis Valencia, who was representing Slate Comics with his book Celestial Night, and myself. It was insane. Like that, I think that was the biggest one any of us have been to, and it was awesome. Just because you got the fanboy a bit. I know I did, and and I know Chris did. There was some of that, and then you also got to just get There's so many comics there. There's so many because we're in Artist Alley. There is rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of indie craze. But I think the coolest thing was we met a lot of our peers.
That's good.
A lot of our people that we follow mutually on Instagram or or Facebook or whatever. And that was and then of course seeing each other again. We've all hung out before. We've all met up at some other little bit smaller cons, and so that was cool to do that, and it was an awesome experience. It gave us a lot because Chris, he's very business minded, and so it gave us a lot of things to work towards. We came back with game plans and goals, and so for the next time we want to do a larger con. So we got some ideas. It was a great learning experience for all of us, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I've been in a couple of situations. I've been in a couple of situations where I've been behind the table with groups of people, and sometimes it's been really productive and sometimes it's been really destructive. So it's cool to hear that you guys kind of found your flow and all that good stuff. Yeah,
we definitely covered for each other if you had to. We know enough about each other's books that if one of us had to step away from the table, that we were there to. And that's one thing I think that says a lot about how much we communicate with each other and how close we are, because I literally can tell you enough to what I think sell a crit book or sell an End of Days book or sell a Caspian Porter book. I think I know enough about the characters and their backstories enough to help try to move that to somebody that's interested if one of these guys had to step away from the table. And I know they would do it for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right on.
Yeah, I mean,
it's great.
Baltimore, we've done Baltimore, and we did a small one in my hometown. Not my hometown, but where I live. And I mean, we did Congregate, and that was me, Jason, Dennis, and Jerry all got together in
from
that
E4.
one.
Yeah, from E4.
Actually, same group that went to Baltimore, really. And the first time we got together, it was a lot of fun. We had never done a con. Most of us had never done a con. I think Jason had done a few art walks and things like that. And that one financially wasn't like the greatest thing in the world, but the best thing about it was just meeting each other, getting to pitch each other's books. And Dennis and I have done about 3 or 4 of them together now because we only live about an hour and a half apart. And then when Baltimore came, I mean, like Jason said, we were all lined up, and if someone wanted to walk around and check stuff out, or we just watch each other's tables and pitch each other's books, and like he said, we know enough about each other's titles. It's not hard to sell. I mean, I've been involved in most of the books myself, so I know quite a bit, and being able to. I think the best part about Baltimore was seeing everybody have their one little geek out moment. Jason had it. I actually have a video of me, and that was the most embarrassing thing to watch. John Leguizamo walked by, and I was like he stopped, and we were talking, and I handed him my book, and you can see my hand shaking next to my leg, and I'm like, oh man, like I can't believe that just happened, because I don't geek out like that. But it was just really cool to see a celebrity that was willing to stop as he's walking by, talk to you, and also take your book.
That's cool. Yeah,
that's huge. Yeah,
that was awesome. And Baltimore, aside from money, I really like the networking aspect of the cons.
Yeah, we network the shit out of that thing.
I don't go to a con to make money. I know that's probably the wrong idea. My wife's in here, so she's probably going to yell at me later for that. But
you don't make.
He's actually on to something.
I mean, I've been tabling since like 2008, and it takes a long time before you even start breaking even at shows. Like I'd say at least 10 years before I started making some money.
Well, there's so many variables that come into play, though, when you think about it, right? It's like when you're first getting started, you have 1 floppy, 2 floppies. Like by the time your work starts to fill out and you can sell like sets of 4, hardcovers, things of that nature, that gets you closer to your number. But obviously that doesn't happen overnight. So like you said, Keith, it takes a while, not just for the sake of learning how to sell, having the product to sell, finding the right market, finding your audience. You know what I mean? There's a lot of variables that really come into play there.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's I've noticed. I mean, at that con I had 6 books, and I made more than what I spent on the con itself. The expensive portion was the travel and the hotel.
Yeah, that's the stuff that kills you.
Now, given if that con had been anywhere within like a 2-hour radius of where I live, I would have come back sitting pretty. But like I said, I had this discussion even before Baltimore. I don't really do cons to necessarily make money. It's those networking and to get those eyes on your book that you don't get anywhere else.
At this stage of the game, it's exposure for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And
I always say quality, consistency, and travel, and you guys are doing exactly those 3 things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and like when I used to be in a group too, like the one thing we used to do was share all those costs. Like when we did a con, like we would we would say, all right, well here's the table, and we would all split it 4 ways. Do you guys do stuff like that?
Yep, we split 2 tables.
We split 2 tables.
We did realize this con though, if the table's smaller than 10 feet, it is really about 8. I think we can survive on an 8-foot table with 2 of us. Right. Dennis and I had a 6-foot table, and
it's a little tougher.
Jason, when Jason left on the 3rd day, he was like, "You can have this one," because I have 6 books. I have stuffed animals. I have energy drinks. I have statues. I have a trade paperback. I require a lot of space, and I felt really bad as I'm like growing this display. I'm like, oh, how can I get everything on here? And and that's just one of us. Jason's about to put out his 3rd. Jerry has 4 books. If we had Drew there, we would need a truck, So,
Crit, I just remembered where I met you before. It was on, I think, Nerds of the Round, and you had the energy drink.
Yep, I'm the guy. With the energy
dude, that's so dope. Keith, check this out. Well, so Keith has his own soda.
Oh, wow.
Check this out, Keith. He's got his own energy drink.
Oh,
I've got
cool.
the brand to go with Surrounded by Death.
Show it again.
You got you close. Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
there you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, like I do soda on my table too, but it's more like I pay for a custom label from like an established, soda company basically in Connecticut.
You're from Connecticut?
Well, we're both in Massachusetts, but
I'm from Connecticut, so yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay, yeah. It's
so
Avery's.
We'll see you at Terrificon then, right?
I'm trying on Terrificon.
You should. Terrificon is a good show.
North Carolina now. I'm trying to give
You should though. Terrificon
I'm in Jersey.
is,
It's not that far from me.
Terrificon is a good comic show. It's like,
we were talking to the guy. He was there at Baltimore.
It falls on my
Mitch,
40th birthday.
Mitch got down there.
Yeah.
Man,
So
Mitch gets around, huh, Johnny?
Yeah, man, that guy travels.
He does.
Figure he put his head on it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hilarious.
He's a good guy. I just don't.
He is a good guy.
I don't know if I'll be able to make it next year. It falls on literally my 40th birthday, and
okay.
if it was like any other year, probably be fine. But I know that we're gonna probably do something stupid, like I'll get drunk, which never happens.
Well, yeah.
I get drunk on one margarita though, so I don't think it's anything special.
Yeah. Good thing you just corrected yourself, because I was about to say something.
I would, Baltimore might be better than Terrificon. I don't know. I've never been to Baltimore. I want to get to that show at some point.
Baltimore was epic. It was really cool. Great experience.
I'm gonna. Johnny, we got to do that show at some point.
I gotta check that show. I hear a lot of good things about it. I just want to see the Rigo Awards like one time. It's,
that'd be great. But I would say Terrificon should be on comic creators' radar too, because
for sure,
it's one of the shows that you'll notice this when you do a lot of shows, is that it has a good ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, there's not too many celebrities. There's just the right amount of high-end comic creators, and then a huge amount of indie creators, and then there's all the other stuff. But it's all in balance. It doesn't feel like one is overpowering the other, which I think really makes the show work. Whereas if you went to something like Fanboy Expo, where it's just stacked with celebrities and nothing else,
or Rhode Island,
or Rhode Island Con, that's a big show up this way, but I don't recommend it for comic creators at all, because everyone that goes there is not there for comics, So
they build their show in the backs of the creator tables and the vendor tables, only for that money to go to the celebrities. And then all the ticket buyers go in, they get their photos, and they don't shop as much for indie artists, because they blew all their cash getting, the guy from Walking Dead, one of the guys from The Walking Dead or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So, so this is great. So, we're getting up into like an hour and 10 minutes here. So tell me, let's go around the room and let's hear about each of your books, and so we get a little promotion in for you, and then we'll start to wrap up. So I guess start with Drew, and then we'll go around the room and tell the audience a little bit about your books.
Sure. So from my truckload of books, I've got probably my bread and butter is a series called Caspian Porter. So the best way I describe it is he's like a Han Solo type character. Match him up with that robot from the Black Hole, Vincent, and throw him in the land that time forgot. So it's very kind of that 1950s sci-fi feel to it, with a little bit of a modern flair. But yeah,
I like it a lot. I reviewed it and read, I think, at least number 1 and 2.
Yep.
Really good stuff. How about you, Chris?
So I read a book named, I don't really write it, but I have a book called C.R.I.T. It's a D&D game that my friends and I made, and I turned.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
did you actually make the game? Do you have
so we homebrewed a superhero version of D&D.
Oh, cool.
It's just grown from there. It originally was just a reason to get my friends back together after 10 years to play D&D. And
that's great.
Now we're going on. We have 42 issues planned. We have about 38 or 39 of them already written. And,
oh, wow.
We're already planning on the next series because, again, this is originally just a D&D thing. So, it follows their whole story. It's all written at the table. There's nothing pre-planned. It's literally everything you read happens at random. And we just discussed this week about doing side stories called Tales from the C.R.I.T, and it's going to be our drunk cat, Samedi. He starts off with a bottle of rum and a cigar, kind of like Tales from the Crypt. And
okay.
And so as the book goes on, though, he'll get more and more drunk as he's telling the story. And it'll be like little one-shot campaigns that we can do. And the first one we want to do is called Mr. Wizard and Friends, which I've already started putting out. So that'll be out next year.
That's awesome. What is CRIT short for? I see that it's like what is it?
Reconnaissance Infiltration Team. It don't even matter about that. I literally made an acronym just so I could call them CRIT, like CRIT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like it though, and I can tell you're kind of like me and Johnny, where you kind of have a book and then you have a lot of merch and stuff that kind of
supports it. Yeah,
like is in the solar system of the actual comic and everything. Oh, cool!
This guy right here,
awesome.
What is that? Like a stuffed? What is that?
It's a stuffed animal. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
It's stuffed Samedi.
So this is that cat you were talking about.
Yeah, he's in the book.
That's cool.
He's like everybody's favorite, and so
awesome.
We've also got a chameleon and an owl. The owl's going to be done next. He'll come out next year. I just got to make the design for him and then get that on to the people that make them. And
very cool.
Yeah.
How'd you get the energy drink made? Is that like something that you went to a company and said, "Hey, I got this comic," and
kinda. So I was signed to a subsidiary of Sony Records, and I remembered on one tour we had our own energy drinks for the.
Okay.
And so when I was doing the last book I launched on Kickstarter was called Caffeinated Chaos. And so I was like, I need to have an energy drink or coffee with it because both of those are in there. So I'm doing coffee next. But when I went into it, I didn't anything, and it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute, we did this tour. We were on Warped Tour. And I was like, when we were on Warped, we had our own, that was our promotional stuff, was our own energy drinks. And so I called the record label owner, and he was like, oh, yeah, they're right in North Carolina. He's like, you can, choose your flavors and things.
Oh, that's cool.
So he sent me their contact. I shot them a few emails back and forth. They sent me the flavors that I could choose from. They sent me some samples. I lost my taste in 2020, still haven't gotten it back. And so I had my guys come over and do a blind taste test. They were my testers, and they chose the sugar-free version that we got. And I designed the label, sent it off, and then I got 200 cans of Caffeinated Chaos.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And is it good stuff? Like, does it give you a pep when you're at the shows?
It works on me. I drink a lot of caffeine, so if it gives me any energy, that's good. I can't taste it from what everyone's told me. It tastes like it tastes like a pixie stick. I've been told it tastes like Sour Patch Kids meets Red Bull. Jerry was on here, and if Jerry was here, he's tasted it. My wife says it tastes like a pixie stick. So,
okay,
cool.
I like that. How about you, Jerry? What's your book that you got going on?
I think he's frozen.
I think he is frozen.
Yeah, my book is End of Days. Am I frozen?
Okay.
No, you're moving.
My
we can hear you now.
Sucks tonight. Yeah. Okay, good deal. Yeah, End of Days is set in Victorian era London during the murders, and basically what it's going to come down to is a war between angels and vampires. My elevator pitch for the book is Sherlock Holmes meets the show Supernatural with a touch of From Hell. So that's where it is, man.
Speaking my language, I love Supernatural.
That's great. And how about you, Jason?
I'm the creator of the Convictor series. It's a character I created almost 38 years ago when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
And, I drew like ash cans and stuff when I was a kid, all through high school, middle school, high school, Xerox copy, comics, stuff like that. Graduated high school, went off to, do a bunch of things and got married and didn't draw anymore. And so fast forward 20 something years later, I'm 46 and I decided that I owed it to 10-year-old me to make a real comic about my character that I've loved so much all these years and put a lot of thought into. So I did. I made a real comic, and I didn't think anyone else was going to really care about it, but they did. And it was actually, I was very surprised by the love I got for it. And I worked on it. My second book just came out not too long ago. I'm working on my third. My character is the Convictor. He is a avatar of retribution for a goddess. He's a former soldier and also a expert martial artist. He was presumed killed in action, but he was resurrected to do this bidding for this goddess. He was never truly killed, but he's a character of loss and tragedy, and he's basically every 90s character you liked. He's got pouches, he's got guns, he's got swords.
I love it.
And he has the greatest thing of all those weapons he has is I gave him the superhuman gift of he has unbreakable will.
Okay.
I would tell everybody it's his greatest strength and his biggest weakness. His body will break before his will does, and that's on full display in my comics. So that's him. He's a great character, and I think so.
I love
anyway.
that.
So, yeah.
I love I love that it's like unabashedly like an 80s 90s comic.
It's ultra violent as hell.
I love it. Like it's just not enough of that nowadays. Like there's everything's super serious, and like I love the fun
slice
of like
life or whatever.
I love the fun of like the 80s and 90s comics,
Yeah, that's what I cut my teeth on. So I was like, you know what? I'm making a book that I would want to read.
I think we all do to a certain point. Yeah. Like the book I do, Mighty Mascots, is like a love letter to everything I loved and grew up with, and it's the book I would want to read, if I could hand it to my 10-year-old self, But yeah, no, I think that's true with a lot of creators. I think they write the books.
I think so.
That that they want to see, but also hopefully other people would want to see,
Well, that's what I said. That's what blew my mind that somebody else actually wanted to read some shit that I wrote. And,
it's great.
So it's kind of crazy, and then people still care about it. I'm like, all right,
it's cool. It's awesome.
It's a hell of a feeling, and it's humbling as hell. So
I think that's kind of like rule of thumb, though. When you to write something genuine, is you're writing it for yourself, and if other people like it, great.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you guys have plans to add even more publisher creators to the mix, like? Or are you guys at
the closed group?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like we kind of, if somebody said 8 is enough, right? Is this what I heard?
Yeah.
We have our vetting process is kind of,
Hey, did the A team add new members? I don't think so.
Right.
So it's only tough because you've got to think of the personalities in the group. So
that's the thing. Like, you guys all seem to know each other, well.
When you think of the group as a whole, too, you have to look at it that way as well.
Right.
There's personalities, but then as the group, will it benefit the group? Will it take away from the group? Will it? So there's a lot of that, too. So
yeah, because you got to think when we're promoting your book for you, and say you do a Kickstarter and you don't fulfill your Kickstarter, that looks bad for us, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
There's different things. The bigger the group gets, the more liable we are for those bad eggs. And so, anybody that comes into the group will have to have some. I want it to grow, but I want it to grow not just in quantity, right? We want to grow with quality. And in indie, you've got the guys who are, one and dones, right? You've got those creators, and then you have the actual guys who, like everybody in this group, who they might not release 5 books a year, but they're constantly creating, they're constantly growing their brand with the time that they have. So that's what we're looking
if they're
for.
not creating, they're promoting, like, kind of thing.
Right. They're constantly active, not just I have this character and I'm going to use crayons to put a book out in 5 weeks and everyone's going to love it. There has to be quality. There has to be something. Like when we brought Drew in, I was blessed because Drew has a business mind like mine, and we can connect on those things, and we can work on that aspect of it, and help grow those different avenues. And so I want more people like Drew who come in and say, hey, I had this idea for the group, let's roll with this, and we could do that. Like, I'm hoping somebody comes in and says, hey, I like talking to people, I want to make a street team. Cool.
Right.
I want stuff like that. I don't want someone that just has a book and just wants us to help publish or help promote it, because there's more to our group than just that.
Gotcha. Yeah, they almost have to be like-minded in a lot of ways.
They
like
have to be one of
business-wise.
the gears and the cogs, not just know.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
Harry says that I think Hulk Hogan was an honorary A-team member. Johnny.
Well, that's perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
Jason compared himself to Hogan before,
That's
so
perfect.
yeah.
Listen, I was either Hogan or Hannibal because again, I'm the oldest guy. So,
could
it
be
doesn't
worse.
matter,
You
so,
can be the 1, 2,
yeah.
3 kid.
yeah, it's true.
So
Yeah, no.
the other
No
thing I was going to
Michael
ask, so you guys wouldn't so you wouldn't take like a submission. In other words, it would have to be somebody that kind of goes with the group's like what's the word I'm looking for, like culture, like the like what is that, what's those corporate words, like
Yeah,
part of the culture, or whatever they say, what's that,
Tenants of the group.
yeah, fit in the
Yeah,
group, like
right.
but it wouldn't be a submission. Like if somebody wanted to submit like say someone did a mini series or something and wanted to have Savage Sandbox put it out and get it into distribution, would you guys do something like that or no?
Right this minute, no.
No, but that could be a possibility, maybe.
Possibly down the road if it fits.
Okay. Yeah.
This isn't. I'll never be a gatekeeper of things, but I want to see the benefits.
You got to protect the brand though, like
right. There's growing smart and there's growing fast.
Yeah, and you want to grow slow. Like that's always the main thing. Yep.
Right. I come from being an independent musician for years. I went from playing churches and halls to playing Warped Tour.
Oh, cool.
I saw. I've seen record labels that crashed and burned because they signed big bands they couldn't afford. Right.
Okay.
Like because with everybody that you bring in, there's a cost involved, whether that's time or money. Right now, we're only investing time. Right. And as independent creators, I'll speak for everybody here. We have no time. Like Jason works, Jerry. I mean, he works offshore most of the time. Drew, he's the only one. I mean, he lives in the Taj Mahal, so I'm pretty sure he can afford it.
In his truckload of comics and
yeah, like I only knew Drew because he was the guy that he did these anthologies, and then we get on a live one day, and I'm like, "Is your ceiling made of gold? Like, what is going on here, dude?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Like the Taj Mahal. That's it's interesting. That's funny.
It's all his gold foil covers.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how for each one tile is for each book he has.
Yeah, there you go. Well, something because those were not worth money, right? So you might as well make a ceiling with them.
Well, spending money on a creator is one thing, right? Like we back your book, we promote your book, but the time invested in, say, getting your books printed and getting them to the distributor and getting them into retail, and that energy,
it's a lot to work.
Yeah, because we've had in the 2 years we've been doing this, we have had creators that we've lost, and I personally invested money into shipping their books to distribution, and a lot of my time and some of my money in having their books in distribution. And the money piece is one thing, but that time is stuff I can never get back. And so that's why I do hold some of that to the chest, is like, I've already learned the hard way from that experience as to what we're looking for and what we want to do retail wise. If you just want us to be your friend and promote your book, you don't have to join the group. I mean, there's enough guys that we know outside of this group. I'll say Dan and Drew right off the bat, who I consider close friends of mine. They're great guys. Dan from Bigfoot Knows Karate, we just did a con with him, and you wouldn't know that he wasn't in the SSB. He would get up and I'd be pitching his book to people. Dennis has worked with him. Jared, we all went out to eat and hung out. Like, if that's what you're looking for.
We had him on the show like about a month ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, if you just want to be our friend, there's no application,
Oh, okay, that's great. So,
well, maybe for Jason.
Yeah. So, Chris, so what is harder, the music industry or the comic industry?
I I like the comics industry a little bit more because I, outside of this group, don't have to deal with whiny little babies.
Okay.
And not that there's whiny babies in the group. What I'm saying is, as an independent creator, this is on me.
Right. You're not counting on a ton of other people, like if you were in the music industry.
I played shows where everyone got drunk, and in the middle of the night, they kicked our drummer out because he asked for too many pickles on his burger. Like that kind of drama. One of my guitarists got mad because he thought that our record label owner was sleeping with his girlfriend. And this guy had some of the bigger bands in the scene at the time, and he's calling him, yelling at him. I'm like, you do realize this is like our future you have in your hands, and you're yelling at the man who cuts us checks.
Wow. Yeah.
So I like the fact that I get to work at my pace, and I know that anything gets there's less moshing in comics. I don't know about that, all right?
Right on.
DS Cartoon says you guys already sound like an interesting group. I agree.
I love the music scene. I really miss it. In fact, we just played a show like a month ago, and I do miss it, but I don't miss the drama.
The bullshit, yeah.
Now the business side, comics is a slower return on time. I could play a show in my band and make, we'd have 700 people, make a few grand, go home for a week. Comics, it's like, you go to a convention, it's like, buy my book, I'm a carny now, come on.
Yeah. Takes you like
listen,
2 years to make that much in comics if you're lucky.
Chris is the only independent. I was an independent professional wrestler. Okay.
Were you really?
Yeah. And
you do look like one, actually.
So I was very much prepared to do all the work and make hardly any money. So it was good. So indie wrestling prepared me pretty well for independent comics. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, get beat up quite a bit.
Chris said he went up. I never got beat up in wrestling. Let's get that straight. Anyway,
great.
So Chris said that he went from playing like local shows to playing, Warped Tour. Well, I went from playing small firehouses to wrestling small firehouses to wrestling in larger firehouses. So yes, so I know all about it. So
what was
I know all about disappointment and handshake for hot dogs. I know all about it. So.
What was your wrestling persona?
Me.
Did you have like a saying, like
I'm a performer, professional MMA fighter, and I retired from MMA and I went into professional wrestling. And I was just me. I didn't need a gimmick. I was a shoot fighter. Like that's me. So
gotcha. That's awesome, man.
No real gimmick. Yeah. So
glad to have you in the comic industry. So now we know who to go to if we need some heads beaten.
Now I just prefer to hurt people from a distance. But
there you go.
I do other stuff for this stuff now. But.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, we've been going 90 minutes. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys.
Good show tonight, guys.
Yeah, I really like the idea of this. Like when Drew first reached out to me and told me about it, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea for indie comics, and I hope it catches on for you guys. I hope you're able to get the distribution going and get into stores, get more readers, become bigger, and maybe one day we'll see you guys, sitting with like the likes of like Aftershock or IDW, things like that. Be right next to them. That's
as long as we take that mountain slowly.
You got to do
none
it.
of them, nobody that I've seen do it successfully did it quick. I mean, you can.
No, you have to do it small. You have to make waves small and every year shoot to be a little further down the path. I think that's the way to do it. So before we close out the stream tonight, do you guys want to just go around the room and tell everybody where people can find you and things like that, where you can get your books? And I just start with Drew and then...
Yep. Sure. If you want to buy any of my books, physical or digital, my website, snowyworks.com, or follow me on Instagram at snowyworks.
Awesome. How about you, Chris?
Homebrewedcomics.com is the easiest way to find me. That's got all my social media that's got all the all the merchandise, all the books are on there. Issue 0 is free to download, so if it sounds interesting, just check it out. It's free. Go download it if you like it. I think digitals are like anywhere from $99 to $199 depending on the size of the book. And awesome. Yeah, my main Instagram is just at Homebrewed Comics. I'm on Twitter, so I'm at Homebrewed Comics with an X. And yeah, that's us.
Awesome, great. How about you, Jerry?
He's froze. No. Oh, he's moving now.
Oh, Jerry.
Nah.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Jason?
All right. You can get me at from the .coms at pharoscreativestudios.com and convictorcomics.com. You can also find me on YouTube at Pharos Creative Studios, and Instagram. Main Instagram is at the Convictor. So
awesome. I think I went and subbed to all you guys who had YouTube
awesome.
Channels.
So
yeah, just to give you a little boost there.
I appreciate
and if anybody
that.
wants to
helps.
Yeah, of course. I know.
I subbed a couple of days ago to you guys. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, man.
Anybody? Yeah. Anybody want to shout out Jerry's social medias?
Jerry Cooley. You get on Instagram, you can find him at Jerry Cooley, and I believe his .com is jerrycooley.com. If I'm correct. And so, yeah, awesome. You can definitely find him for sure. So.
Awesome. And Johnny, do you have anything? I know, like often at the end of the show, there's a bunch of Kickstarters you like to shout out. Do you have any this week?
I'm going to do that right now real quick in the order in which they're ending. So tomorrow, We Suck at Comics is wrapping up. They actually introduced a hardcover option. So if you want to upgrade, there's a limited hardcover option available through the Kickstarter. Dismay Avenue, issues 1 and 2. Guest on a few weeks ago.
Yeah, you saw him jump into the chat earlier, too. Shout out to Brandon.
Yep, big shout out to Brandon. My good friend Paul Axel, who I normally exhibit with at C2E2. He's got Cobalt's Claim. That's ending on November 21st. Check that out. Also, Griffin S. We might have to try to get him on the show. He just introduced the watercolor caddy for artists. It's a portable watercolor all-in-one set. It's really cool.
Cool.
That thing's going to take off like wildfire. So Griffin's running that right now. That ends on December 10th. It's called the Watercolor Caddy. And then also, last but not least, Dirk Manning has his second pro wrestling autobiography for Arn Anderson, My Life as an Enforcer. So that's some source.
Double A. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check all those out. And a big thank you to all you guys. A big sorry to Jerry's internet connection. And we'd love to have you guys back on in the future.
Yeah, we'd love to be on. I appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you guys.
And I reiterate what Johnny said. Thank you for joining us, guys. And it's always a pleasure to talk to creators, especially creators that have a vision, So I love that. Good luck to you guys with all your future endeavors. And then everybody out there, if you're not sick of me talking about it, Mighty Mascots, Indiegogo, still in demand. And will be for at least another few months. So check that out if you can, and back if you can. And then next Wednesday, me and Johnny are back live with, I believe, the Nerds of the Round Invasion next week. So that ought to be fun. So that's going to be another fun episode. But all right, guys. Well, everybody have a great week. Thanks again for joining us. And as always, read some comics. All right, everybody. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Bye.